Good morning, boys and girls. I wanted to read a little story to you that I found, and it's from viralslot.com. Okay, a woman realizes she's been accidentally abusing her husband this whole time. This is a little bit of MGTOW for you, boys. A little bit of MGTOW. My aha moment happened because of a package of hamburger meat. I asked my husband to stop by the store to pick up a few things for dinner, and when he got home, he plopped the bag down on the counter and started pulling the things out of the bag, and realised he'd gotten the 70-30 hamburger meat, which means it's 70% lean and 30% fat. And I asked, "What's this?" And he said, "Hamburger meat," he replied, slightly confused. "You didn't get the right kind," I said. "I didn't," he replied with his brow furrowed. "Was there some other kind brand you wanted or something?" "No, you're missing the point," I said. "You've got the 70-30. I always get at least the 80-20. As I'm reading this, guys, I want you to have a little think about everything that I'm saying and see how much you can relate to as the story grows, okay? And always try and remember MGTOW. It's fucking hard, but try. Anyway, that's how it started. I launched into him. I berated him for not being smarter. Why would he not get the more healthy option? Did he even read the labels? Why can't I trust him? Do I need to spell out every little thing for him in a minute detail so he gets it right? Also, and the thing I was probably most offended by, she's offended, okay, that he got the wrong meat, her husband. Why wasn't he more observant? How could he not have noticed over the years what I always get? Does he not pay attention to anything that I do? See, it's all about the woman. It's all about her. You've got to pay all attention onto her. And listen as the story grows. As he sat there, he bearing the brunt of my righteous indignation and muttering responses like, "I never noticed. I really don't think it's that big of a deal, and I'll get it right next time." How many times have you fucking thought that, boys, or said that in your lifetime to a female? I saw in his face gradually take on an expression that I'd seen on him in a lot in recent years. It was a combination of resignation and demoralisation. He looked eerily like our son does when he gets chastised. That's when it hit me. Why am I doing this? I'm not his mum. His mum. I suddenly felt terrible and embarrassed for myself. He was right. It really wasn't enough to get anything to get bent out of shape over, and there I was doing just that, over a silly package of hamburger meat that he had dutifully picked up from the grocery store, just like I'd asked. If I had specific requirements, I should have been clearer. I didn't know how to gracefully extract myself from the conversation without coming across like some kind of split personality. You mean like a total fucking bitch? So I just mumbled something like, "Yeah, I guess we'll make do with this. I'm going to start dinner." He seemed relieved it was over, and he left the kitchen. "Fuck yeah, you just can't wait to get out of there, huh, boy?" And then I sat there and I thought long and hard. "I bet you did, bitch. You didn't want to make any fucking dinner, that's for sure. I bet you put the telephone on and fucking had a real good think about it, right?" And then I sat there and thought long and hard about what I'd just done and what I'd been doing to him for years probably. The hamburger meat moment, as I've come to call it, certainly wasn't the first time I'd scolded him for not doing something the way I thought it should be done. He was always putting something away in the wrong place, or leaving something out, or neglecting to do something altogether, and I was always right there to point it out to him. "I'll bet you were." I'll bet you were. It's a good time to put the thumb down, you see. Any chance they get, they put the thumb down to get their power. Here we go. The story continues. Why do I do that? How does it benefit me to constantly belittle my husband? Well, it makes you feel good, doesn't it? That's why you do it over and over and over. The man that I've taken as my partner in life, the father of my children, the guy I wanted to have by my side as I grow old. Why do I do what women are so often accused of, and try to change the way he does every little thing? Do I feel like I'm accomplishing something? Clearly not, if I feel I have to be doing it. Why do I think it's reasonable to expect him to remember everything I want and do just that way? The instances in which he does something differently, does it mean he's wrong? When did my way become the only way? Of course it's the only way. That's fucking, they're all feminists now. When did it become okay to constantly correct him and lecture him and point out every little thing I didn't like as if he were making some kind of mistake? How does it benefit him? Does it make him think, "Wow, I'm sure glad she was there to set me straight"? I highly doubt it. He probably feels like I'm harping on him for no reason whatsoever, and I'm pretty sure makes him think his best approach in regards to me is to either stop doing things around the house or to avoid me altogether. Yep, it sure is. 2 cases in point. Number 1, I recently found a shard of glass on the kitchen floor and I asked him what happened. Ooh. He said he broke the glass the night before. When I asked why he didn't tell me, he said, I just cleaned it up and threw it away. Well, that's what a guy would do, right? Because I didn't want you to have the conniption fit over it. Yeah, there you go. I just cleaned it up and threw it away because I didn't want you to have a conniption fit over it, which is exactly what would happen. You'd get the whole lecture. I was taking out the trash. Number 2, hashtag number 2. I was taking out the trash and found a pair of blue tube socks in the bin outside. Ooh. I asked him what happened and why did he throw them away. Why did you have to ask him at all? Why did you have to take them out of the bin and go to him and say, where are these blue socks and what are you doing with these blue? You know what I mean? It's fucking ridiculous. There's women for you. And he said they accidentally got in the wash with my jeans. Every time I put in the laundry, you feel the need to remind me not to mix colours and whites. I didn't want you to see them and reinforce your obvious belief that I don't know how to wash clothes after 35 years. So he's basically just trying to cut her off from him getting chastised every time he turns around and he knows he's done a mistake. And that's a grown man. So over years and years and years of that kind of treatment, it just gets you down. It really does. So here we go, because stories continue. So it's got to the point where he felt it was a better idea or just plain easier to cover things up than admit he made a human error. What kind of environment have I created where he feels he's not allowed to make mistakes? And let's look at these offences: a broken glass, a pair of blue tube socks, both common mistakes that anyone could have made. But he was right regarding the glass. I not only pointed out his clumsiness for breaking it, but also due to the shard I found, his sad attempt at cleaning it up. See, there you go. Even after she's pointed, she knows in her head that she's doing it wrong. And even though she's found the glass after that point, she's still berating him. She's still giving him a good fucking service over a broken glass that's got nothing to do with her. And she didn't have to clean it up or do anything, right? I mean, she's acting like she's had to do the whole lot, right? And she hasn't had to do anything. She just found a piece of glass on the floor, and that's it. She's off. And that's the power they have, and they can't wait to put that on every chance they get. And that's just the female that is breeding nowadays. As for the socks, even though he clearly stated it was an accident, I gave him a verbal lesson about making sure he pays more attention when he's sorting clothes. Whenever any issues like this arise, he'll sit there and take it all for a little bit, yep, but always responds in the end with something like, I guess it just doesn't matter that much to me. Yep, just blanking it off. It's good on you, bro. Moving on. I know now that what he means is this thing that has you so upset is a small detail or a matter of opinion or a preference, and I don't see why you're making it such a big deal. But from my end, I came to interpret it over time that he didn't care about my happiness. See, it's all about her, my happiness, her happiness, or trying to do things the way I think they should be done. See, all about her. I came to view it like this guy just doesn't get it. See, got to get it, mate. If you don't get in line and don't follow that, don't tell her what you want, that's it. Here we go. I am clearly the brains of the operation. Okay, so she establishes herself as the total brains of the operation. Okay, and he's a fucking idiot, and he needs to be guided in every chance he gets, and he's just fucking sick of it. Anyway, here we go. Continuing. I started thinking about what I'd observed with my friends' relationships and things my girlfriends would complain about regarding their husbands, and I realised that I wasn't alone. Somehow too many women have fallen into the belief that wife always knows best. There's even a phrase to reinforce it: happy wife, happy life. You sure as fuck don't want to make them unhappy though, do you? That doesn't leave a lot of room for his opinions, does it? He doesn't leave any room for your opinions of what you want. It doesn't fucking matter what you want. only what she matters, okay? So moving on. It's an easy stereotype to buy into. Look at the media, movies, TV, advertisements. They're all filled with images of hapless husbands and clever wives. Yep. He can't cook. He can't take care of the kids. If you send him out to get 3 things, he'll come back with 2, and they'll both be wrong. We see it again and again. See, it's wonderful, isn't it? This attitude towards men. That's why I wanted to read it to you guys and share it with you, because this is from a woman's point of view. This is her letter that she sent in to be, published. What this constant nagging and harping does is send a message to our husbands that says, we don't respect you. We don't think you're smart enough to do the things right. We expect you to mess up. And when you do, you'll be called out on it swiftly and without reservation. Fucking too right you will. Oh, you'll be fucking hounded, mate. And you'll be lucky if they forget about it that day, because you'll still be reminded about it 4 days later. Like, the woman will remind you, like, in the following week, what you did, right? Given this kind of negative reinforcement, which is exactly what it is, it's a weekly negative reinforcement, and over time he feels like nothing he can do is right in your eyes. If he's confident with himself and who he is, he'll come to you, resent you, yep. And if he's at all unsure about himself, he'll start to believe you, yep. And it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Neither one is a desirable, beneficial outcome to you, him, or the marriage. Did my husband do the same to me? Just as I'm sure there are untold numbers of women who don't even ever do this kind of thing to their husbands. I'm sure there are men who do it to their wives too. But I don't think of it as a typical male characteristic. As I sit and thought about it, I realised my husband didn't display the same behaviour toward me. I even thought about some of the times I really did make mistakes. The time I backed into the gate and scratched the car. He never said a word about it. The time I was making dinner and got distracted by a call from my mum and burned it to the cinders. He just said, we can just order a pizza. The time I tried to put the new patio furniture together and he left these good tools out in the rain, and she left the good tools out in the rain, and he just said accidents happen, was his only response. Yeah, there you go. Good guy, a good husband. I shuddered to think what I would have said had the shoe been on the other foot. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. And he'd made those mistakes himself. Sorry. So is he just a better person than me? Why doesn't he bite my head off when I don't do things the way he likes? I'd be a fool to think it doesn't happen, and yet I don't remember him ever calling me out on it. It doesn't seem as he's intent on as changing the way I do things, but why? Maybe I should take what he's always said as face value. The fact that these little things really don't matter that much to him, it's not a sign that he's lazy, or that he's incapable of learning, or that he just doesn't give a damn about what I want. Maybe to him the small details are not that important in his mind, and justifiably so. They're not the kinds of things to start fights over. They're not the kind of things he needs to change about me. It certainly doesn't make him dumb or inept. He's just not as concerned with some of the minutiae as I am, whatever that word is. And it's why he doesn't freak out when he's on the other side of the fence. Correct. No, they're more grounded. The men are more grounded until they get hound into the dirt and hound into that, and you just fucking, you go kaboom. But they're more grounded, That's all it is. They react on their feelings and how they feel. It's all about feelings. The bottom line in all this is all that I chose this man as my partner. He's not my servant. He's not my employee. He's not my child. I didn't think he was stupid when I married him. Otherwise I wouldn't have. He doesn't need to be reprimanded of me because I don't like the way he does some things. When I get to the point mentally, it then made me start thinking about all the good things about him. He's intelligent, he's a good person, he's devoted, he's awesome with the kids, and he does always help around the house, just not always to my liking. There you go. Still not to your liking, even after all this, it's still not to her liking. Even more, not only does he refrain from giving me grief when I make mistakes or do things differently than him, he's always been very agreeable to my way of doing things. He has no choice. He has no fucking choice, that's why. And for the most part, if he notices I prefer to do something a certain way, he tries to remember it in the future. Oh, really? Do you do that? I wonder if you do that. And the answer would be no. He's doing it to save himself some grief. That's why. He's doing it to save himself some fucking grief, because he knows anything that he does, you're going to jump all over him. You're going to be fucking on his ass, and it's just not worth it. It's just not worth the fucking aggravation anymore, and instead you just end up growing apart. Anyway, moving on. Instead of focusing on those wonderful things, I just harped on the negative. And again, I know I'm not alone in this. If we keep attempting to make our husbands feel small or foolish or inept because they occasionally mess up, and I use that term also mean do things differently than us, like fucking joke, innit? Because you do something differently than them, it's wrong, right? So anyway, moving on, then eventually they're going to stop trying to do things, yep. Or worse yet, they'll actually come to believe those labels are true. Even worse, that would be a worst case scenario. In my case, it's my husband of 12 plus years I'm talking about. The same man who thanklessly changed my car tyre in the rain, the guy who taught our kids how to ride bikes, the person who stayed with me at the hospital all night with my mum was sick, the man who always worked hard to make a decent living and support his family. He sounds like a good man. He knows how to change the oil in the car. He can reinstall my computer's operating system. He lifts things for me that are too heavy and opens stuck jar lids. He's very handy, man. He shovels the sidewalk. He can put up a ceiling fan. He fixes the toilet when it won't stop running. I can't or don't do any of those things. And yet I give him grief about a dish out of place. Yep. He's a good man who does a lot for me and doesn't deserve to be harassed over little things that really don't matter in the grand scheme of things. Since my revelation, I try to catch myself when I start to nag. I'm not always 100% consistent, but I know I've gotten a lot better, and I've seen that one little change makes a big improvement in our relationship. Things seem more relaxed. I'll bet they do. You're not on his ass every fucking 2 minutes. She must have been a real fucking nag, boys. Fucking hell. It must have been a huge awakening for this woman. Like, you know what I mean? Bang, like fucking storm hit her. The fucking lightning's just gone fucking boom straight through the skull, right? Anyway, or maybe she's just hit the wall in a big way. She's looked in the mirror one day and she's fucking realised that, I'm not fucking 20 anymore, and who knows? But the hamburger meat, eh? So we'll continue here. It's her letter. It's not mine. It's all her words. We seem to be getting along better. I think we're both starting to see each other more as trusted partners, not adversarial opponents at odds with each other in day-to-day existence. I've even come to accept that sometimes his way of doing things may be better. Oh, wow, that must have been huge for her. Wow, that must have been a fucking huge milestone for that woman. Like, give me a fucking break. It takes two to make a partnership. Really, love? Fucking genius you are. No one is always right and no one is always wrong, and you are not always going to see eye to eye on every little thing. It doesn't make you smarter or superior. Oh, really? You have to work all that by yourself, huh? Or more right to point out every little thing he does is that's not your liking. Ladies, remember, it's just hamburger meat. Share this with your friends by clicking below. Okay, so it's a real ad, a real thing on this website that I found. And I hope they didn't take up too much of your time. I've got it downloaded onto YouTube for you. But how many of you guys can relate to that? How many of you guys can look and think about the story there and think, yep, there you go, that's my fucking marriage for you? And even if you're not married, the girlfriend would be the same. They're all the same, right? There's no difference in them. So anyway, MGTOW boys, give us a share, give us a like. Hope you liked that story and it wasn't a waste of your time. And thanks very much for listening to my story.